Hey, freedom seekers! Welcome back to Set Yourself Free, the podcast where we share stories, strategies, and mindset shifts to help you break free from the 9 to 5, and most importantly, create a life you're obsessed with. I'm Eugenia, and because this is the last episode of the year, I don't want this to be about strategy or tips. I want it to feel like a conversation. Because before we rush into the next year, we need to be honest about this one. You need to know the most important decisions in our lives don't happen in January. They happen now. So, grab your 9.5 pH glass of water, your notebook, and let's dive in. It's time to set yourself free. To begin with, I want to share something I reflect a lot about lately, and that is for most of my adult life, I did everything I was supposed to. I studied, I got good grades, I moved abroad, I built a career, climbed the corporate ladder, became independent, and I earned well, a good salary. From the outside, my life looked like a success, and I felt successful. However, after a while, I realized that I wasn't fulfilled. There was always that background feeling that I couldn't quite explain. Like my life was organized around work first, and everything else had to fit around it. My relationships, my energy, health, family. And to be fair, Christmas always made it feel a lot more. Because Christmas isn't just another holiday when you're an expat. It's really emotional and a time that you want to be with family. If you're an expat woman listening to this, I know this is part of your life too. Christmas isn't just about decorations and Christmas markets. It's a lot of logistics, calculations, trade offs. It's asking yourself, how many days of annual leave do I have left? Can I afford the flights this year? Who do I see this year? My family or maybe my partners? How much time is enough before it feels rushed? And no one really talks about how heavy that feeling gets. I remember sitting at my desk in December, pretending to work, but mentally doing the maths. Counting days for next year, checking calendars, how much annual leave I was gonna have, wondering if my manager would say yes this time. And every year, there was some version of disappointment. I did manage to go home every year, which was great, but it always felt too short. And of course, it meant no travel because I didn't have enough time to do both. What hurt the most wasn't just missing moments, it was realizing that my most important relationships had to compete with my job, that my time didn't fully belong to me. And Christmas has a way of making you ask the questions that you manage to avoid the rest of the year. I want to slow this down for a moment because this part really matters. If you're listening to this and nodding quietly, I want you to know you're not alone feeling this way. Most women I speak to don't complain out loud. They cope, they manage, they make it work. They tell themselves this is just part of being an expat. This is just how adult life is. But here's the part no one says clearly. Just because something is common doesn't mean it's what you need to do. And it doesn't mean it's normal. Just because you've handled it so far doesn't mean you're meant to keep handling it forever. Christmas is often the moment when that truth surfaces. Because it's not just about time of work, it's about where you belong, who you miss, and it's about feeling split between two worlds. When you start realizing that your life only allows for space of what's meaningful, if it's a proof, something inside you starts questioning things. And that question isn't a problem, it's information. So, I want you to ask yourself something. How is Christmas feeling for you this year? Are you able to do everything you want to for as long as you want to? And then ask yourself, am I willing to feel this again next year? You don't need an answer right now. Just have a think. And the part that no one talks about is every year you tell yourself this is just how it is until you realize years are passing and you're still negotiating the same things. Same conversations, same compromises, same feeling of being split in two. I want you to invite a longer reflection now. Please pause or stop the episode here, or if not, just listen and let the questions land. Ask yourself, how did this year feel overall? Not how it looked or the post you made or what you told people when they asked, but how did it feel? Did it feel rushed? Do you feel grateful? Do you feel like you were constantly watching the clock and counting the days of vacation? And also ask yourself honestly, are you willing to do this again next year? And not just next year, but again and again, because this is how patterns work. They don't break on their own. The, they only break when we decide that repeating them is no longer acceptable. I want to tell you actually about one specific Christmas a few years back. I remember sitting at my bed with my suitcase half open. Everything was technically fine. I had booked the flights, I had permission to take the days off, I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. And yet, I remember feeling the heaviness in my chest because I already knew how it would go. I would land in Barcelona, I would try to be present with my family, I would enjoy the moments, but in the back of my mind, there would always be a clock, counting down the days, the hours, how much time I had left before I had to leave again, and not knowing when I could come back again. I remember thinking, why does something that matters this much feel so rushed? Why does seeing my family feel like something I have to earn? And what does it feel like when my life only works if I keep compressing the things that matter most? I felt clarity because I realized that I had been so good at adapting, at managing, at making things work inside the limitations of things I didn't choose. I told myself that I was strong. But that Christmas, I actually also started wondering, like, could there be another way? Because strength isn't just about coping, strength is also about asking, is this the structure that I want my life to have? That question stayed with me. However, I didn't have an answer back then. But when you ask a question like this, it does change how you see everything. And you also start noticing how often you negotiate your time and how often you say, I'll maybe come for fewer days because I don't have enough days left. Or we'll do it properly next year. Or my favorite one, it's just how it is. How many times have we said that? However, at some point, you realize that that's just how it is actually just what you've accepted. And that's a hard thing to admit to ourselves. But it's also a powerful one because the moment you see that pattern, you're no longer trapped in it unconsciously. You now have a choice. And Christmas has a way of placing that choice right in front of you. For me, things didn't change because I suddenly became brave. They changed because I couldn't ignore the pattern anymore. I realized that if I didn't choose differently, I'd be having the same internal conversation at 30, 40, 50, and probably 60. Who knows at what age we will retire, honestly. I would still be negotiating time, still asking for permission, still saying next year will be different, but knowing deep down it wouldn't. And that scared me more than change. I didn't want a life where freedom was something I experienced just twice a year, usually in summer and winter, because that's when these things are done, right? For summer holidays and Christmas. I didn't even have kids of my own, so it didn't need to be that way. Basically, where traveling or seeing family felt like a privilege instead of just a normal part of life. And I'll always remember the moment I was shown a different path. A business model, a system, a way to build an income beyond the job. Something clicked because for the first time, I could see how my life could actually be structured differently. Here's the uncomfortable truth: if nothing changes, this will be your Christmas again next year. Same limits, same calculations, and same quiet disappointment, just 1 year older. So, I hope this made you reflect because this is the whole reason of why I do what I do today. Not to tell women to quit their jobs overnight, not to sell a dream, but to show you that there are other options. Most women I work with aren't lazy or unmotivated. They are capable, they are intelligent, they are ambitious. Their problem isn't effort, it's that no one ever showed them another way. We're taught that employment is the only safe path, even when it costs us time, health, and presence. And once you see that there are other ways to build income and freedom, you just cannot unsee that. I want to say something important before I talk about January. Change doesn't happen because the calendar flips. January doesn't magically create clarity. Decisions do. And most people don't stay stuck because they don't know what they want. They stay stuck because they keep postponing the moment they take themselves seriously. If you're listening to this thinking this sounds familiar, that's not a coincidence. That's awareness, and awareness always comes before change. The question is whether you'll do something about it. In January, I'm opening space to work closely with 5 women. 5 women who are tired of repeating the same year, 5 women who felt something shift while listening to this, 5 women who know this doesn't have to be their Christmas story forever. I've also created a free web class that explains the path clearly, how it works, what it looks like, and you then can decide whether this is right for you. If this episode touched something in you, that's usually your intuition. And you can find the link to my web class in the description. Before we end, I want to say this. It's not weakness if the episode made you emotional. It's awareness. This is your life, and you're allowed to want more from it. If this spoke to you, share it with another woman who might be quietly questioning her life right now. If you're inspired, hit subscribe and share it with another woman who's ready to rise. You've got this, freedom seeker. Let's turn ambition into freedom. And remember, only you can set yourself free. Have a lovely Christmas. I'll see you next year. I know it's gonna be a great one.